Whatever you do, boy, beware of the witches. That's right now, beware of the witches. Hello, everyone. Welcome to No Drama, Just Movies. We are back this week with another video. Please do us a favor. If you like our content here, if you're new to this channel, please give our channel a lovely subscribe. We'll very much so appreciate it. We come out here with weekly movie reviews of your latest releases in cinema, as well as your cult classics. And this week, we are reviewing none other than the sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming. We are reviewing John Watts' Spider-Man Far From Home. My name is Cameron Edith Kelly Smith, and I'm joined by.
I'm Philip Night Monkey Corwin.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. Oh, I love it. We're onto something here, I think. But as I said, guys, we are here to review Spider-Man Far From Home. Once again, we have been reviewing all of the live-action Spider-Man movies. They are currently re-releasing every single one of them week by week over here in the UK in major cinema chains. I believe it's the same also as well over in the US. So, Phil, we did a Homecoming review last week, and if I'm not mistaken, I think you gave it 10 out of 10, and I gave it even 9 or 9.5 out of 10. So clearly, it was a big thing. Obviously, the tagline we gave it is, the day that Marvel saved Spider-Man from, the wretched grips of Sony, based on, those previous movies. However, we obviously both have Homecoming. Very much so, we hold it in high regard. Far From Home, the question is, was it the Spider-Man 2 worthy sequel?
Yes, maybe. There were obviously I've thought a few more flaws or some a bit more stuff that I didn't like, but that was like would have been hard to do another like 10 out of 10 again. There had to be something in there that was like eh. But overall I think I enjoyed it. Like some great additions with Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, some like more insight into just Peter Parker, and just the Peter Parker after Tony, I guess, after Endgame and Tony's death, and how that impacted him and his story.
Yeah, I think, and I took that pause there as if I'm about to bash this movie. I'm actually not. Like, I had a lot of fun with this movie. I have always held Spider-Man Far From Home as it's the, if I had to rank the Homecoming trilogy, I would put it third. And, a lot of the time when you kind of have a movie that ranks the lowest in the trilogy, you kind of forget if it was actually great or good. You kind of just, because it's third in the list, you kind of go like, oh, okay, it's third. Watching it again, I really enjoyed it, man. Like, I really enjoyed it. Like, this Homecoming trilogy to me is just special. Once again, us being exposed to well, exposed might not be the right word, given that, there is a scene in this movie where, Tom Holland's in his boxers and gets caught by, the MJ's other love interest, but so exposed might not be the right word. However, I really enjoyed, especially from Homecoming, seeing Peter in school, seeing the life of this, well, now 16-year-old kid in high school, having the fun school trips, trying to express his feelings to the girl he likes, seeing that, the shyness that comes with that, of talking to this girl and seeing if she's actually interested in you, the fun you have with you and your best friend, even if you guys are, a bit of the nerds of the bunch, whatever it may be. But I just really enjoy that time seeing Peter in school. Obviously, we'll get into it in terms of the added elements. But a question I want to fire at you, like right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times this movie is criticized because once again, it kind of shows Peter in his Iron Man Jr. bag. Do
Yeah.
you agree with that? Because I personally feel that after rewatching the movie yesterday, that I feel like I understand those criticisms, but it also really works within the story for me. And I don't, it's kind of like, I kind of see this in two ways. It's like, one, I understand. Listen, like when, it, some of the lines of dialogue or some of the moments, when, for example, he's with Happy on the jet and he's starting to design his own suit, and the ACDC comes on, and Happy's like, man, like basically like you remind me of Tony, and the little nods you have, when even Fury's like, he chose you as the heir apparent, being the next Iron Man, blah, blah, blah. Like, I can understand those maybe starting to rub people the wrong way. Like, it's like, listen, we just want to see Spider-Man be Spider-Man. But I think that it kind of also does work within like the construct of the story where his mentor died. Like, he's still this 16-year-old kid that ideally needs a mentor, needs a father figure. And to me, it would make sense that Tony would choose him and that you would still incorporate this whole mentoring element into the story. But is it too much? Like, I don't know, is it?
I love that part. Like, I love the idea that after Tony's death, it's still weighing on Peter, um, because that is the responsibility. I think that comes with that great power. Because now he's like, can I be the next Iron Man? Can I like step into those shoes of the man who like basically mentored me this whole time? Um, and it's you can see the pressure of that weighing on him. Um, and I think it gives him some tragedy there. And this is kind of what I want from a Spider-Man story, I think. Just that responsibility of you have this power and here's the challenge. Are you going to accept it? And are you going to step up to the plate? And like you said, he's a 16-year-old kid
Yeah.
who basically is now supposed to or thinks he's supposed to become like the next Iron Man. Tony played a massive role in this whole thing, in the Avengers, as a superhero, I guess. And just that pressure of having to step into that, I suppose, that is the responsibility that he's worried about.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, because like I can understand people's criticism in terms of, the whole Iron Man Jr. thing or Iron Man's presence being felt too much, because there are elements in this movie where, yes, it does feel like a lot is being tied and linked to Tony Stark and his legacy in maybe ways that you didn't necessarily have to. Obviously, the biggest being that, I think that you can, excuse me, it's understandable that you would still be dealing with the fact that Tony is dead, this father figure and mentor to Peter. Now Peter is, trying to live up to him. He doesn't know what to do without him. The idea that Tony would look at Peter as the second coming, you know, obviously giving him Edith as well. But I think in ways, the areas maybe where they went into it where they didn't have to have Tony included as much were probably when it came to Mysterio. The idea that, Quentin Beck, isn't it, right? The idea that,
Mhm.
Beck, was a old employee of Stark. And don't get me wrong, I thought that was cool how they did work that into, they reworked it so that I believe it's the opening scene of or just after the opening scene of
Yeah.
Civil War when,
Yeah.
Tony's given his his bath speech, and it was I guess it was kind of cool to rework that so it made it seem like that was Beck's tech and that he was there and that the other guy who was working with I can't remember his name was also the guy that appeared in Iron Man 1. But I think that's where I think it starts to overstay its welcome for me.
Mhm.
That's where it starts to become, listen, while this makes sense, because I think that's the thing also in the MCU, and obviously that's something that will probably change moving forward, but at least up to that point in the MCU, everything tech-based, everything technology-based in any way, shape, or form was all linked to Tony Stark. And so where you have this story where Mysterio, part of his act is using the drones, it's like, well, yeah, these drones aren't going to come from anyone else but Tony Stark, because that's the way in which this universe has been set up, in that Tony, anything tech related, it's Tony. And don't get me wrong, that does bring me to a positive. Like I thought that that was a smart way to introduce Mysterio. The fact that he was using drones that were Stark tech. Don't get me wrong. One of my criticisms, I know I'm kind of jumping about here. One of my criticisms, however, with Mysterio is that even though those scenes where he's kind of taking Peter through like an illusionary trance almost, those kind of illusion scenes, for as amazing and phenomenal as they looked, and that they still look and play out, I did question how the tech could be this advanced, or that how this drone tech, like how long would he have to be working on something like this in order to create this kind of illusion? Like, but
Hmm.
I did kind of remember that it is a comic book movie, and you can stretch, the boundaries of imagination. But it was something that I went that looks too good, too good to just be, drone
I
tech.
had no problem. I like initially, yes, like when they're fighting the first elemental in Venice. I remembered it was drones and I remember it was like projections. And I thought like, wait, how is it destroying actual buildings? How does that work? Like how much is projection and how much
Mm,
is it actual like destruction? Um and then they showed it like how it's done, and it's explained, oh, it's a mixture of that, and the drones are actually firing at stuff. And that's where I was like, okay, cool. Um, the rest is just, my brain, I guess, filling the gaps and explaining stuff away. So I didn't have an issue with that. I think I just ran with it because it was so cool.
mm,
Especially that scene you're referring to where he sends him like through these nightmare sequences, and like just how it's shot and like how fluid everything moves, like very dreamlike.
yeah.
um and I was sitting there enjoying the ride and thinking this would be a terrible, terrible thing to be stuck in, and how terrifying that would make Mysterio, because you can't really trust what you're seeing, and just, yeah, getting caught up in like just this moment. So I didn't think, oh, how is this actually working? So yeah, it didn't bother me at all.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, even on staying on, Mr. Beck, Mysterio. Yeah, I thought that it was a great performance by Jake Gyllenhaal, because I do think that at the beginning of the movie, up until the point where he does make that, the great reveal, which was a great scene, by the way. And I remember it being really coming across really well in front of the audience when the movie was first released. But when Peter gives Edith over the glasses over to Mysterio, and then afterwards, he does reveal that this also was a simulation. Also, as well, once again, I think still stretching the realms of imagination, but it was still cool. It still was very cool, and he did a great job in terms of really convincing you that this was someone who genuinely was on Peter's side up
Mm.
until this point, and that he was a genuine nice person. And credit to Jake Gyllenhaal, because yeah, I think that he did a really good performance, and especially switching it over. Um, One thing I want to point out is, though, obviously, as I said, all the school trip stuff, the homecoming part of of this movie, the school trips, the interactions, Ned and his missus, that was like so good, like so well written.
Yeah.
Once again, like credit to the screenwriters. I think it's Chris McKenna and I can't remember the other gentleman's name, but huge credit to them. Like I think it was just real, and I really liked this idea of um MJ and Peter now slowly coming together. Because in the first movie, like they have subtle hints that they're both slightly interested in each other, but it's not until we get here that we really start to explore that. And obviously, by the end of this movie, they're full on an item. And I think that really works. I think what's interesting, and we'll probably get into it a bit more when we review No Way Home next, but that there are certain things about this movie or certain plot points that are introduced that isn't picked up as we go further on. And so it kind of does make you
Right.
intrigued. I mean, obviously, one of them, for example, we're talking about the whole Iron Man ism of the movie. The fact that, once we get to No Way Home, like there's pretty much zero talk or discussion anymore about Peter becoming the heir apparent to Iron Man, or
Mm.
Peter taking this and moving forward, or him ascending to that level. You could actually argue that by the time we reach No Way Home, they actually go the complete opposite by the time that movie is over. And so, in hindsight, it kind of does make you go, well, I can kind of understand some people's criticisms because they didn't exactly really take that anywhere. Even
Mm.
if the ultimate goal was still to say, well, he similar to how in Homecoming he decides not to be an Avenger. If come this, No Way Home, he decides, that well, I guess he kind of does, but but his path is not to be the Tony Stark heir. It's now that I'm gonna make my own decision and be my own man, which I guess he kind of does go with, but
Mm.
it not maybe in the way maybe we thought that it was gonna go. So that was one thing at least. Obviously there's that little thing in here where Flash Thompson at the end when they're at the airport, he goes to meet his chauffeur and asks, about Mother, and obviously come the third movie that's not even referenced at all. But it's minor, it's petty, it's very minor. Um, Obviously, the big thing, the mid credit scene, obviously that's gonna go down in history as one of the absolute greatest modern day post credit scenes in Marvel. Great stuff. Yeah, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, so like I really liked Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. Like I think I love the relationship between the two, especially like after Tony died. Now just Peter needs another mentor, I think, and Beck
Good
is a
point.
bit more older brother. Like I loved it that pub scene when they're discussing and like Peter's love for MJ, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna, you know, ask her to this bridge or this place, and I'm gonna give her this gift, and then we're gonna kiss." And Quentin's like, and they're having this little chat, like older brother and younger brother, and I love that. Um, I guess what you've said as well, like when it first came out, when I first watched it, it mentions, or Beck mentions, I'm from Earth 616, and this is like, no, this is
He's
Earth.
from the other Earth, yeah.
He's from the other one. And I thought, like, when I was watching this, oh my God, are they going to do the multiverse thing now?
Mm.
And then it turns out that Beck is actually, a fake. Um, so I thought this whole thing was fake. So I got a bit confused. And I don't know if that
Yeah,
is a dropped thing or
it
if that
feels
is
like
like
it
a thing that they like set up but then didn't pay off till much later.
because how would he know that it's called? Because I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure, like, as we reach, go further along the timeline, like in other movies, that our Earth is referred to as Earth 616. And so, how did he know to call it that? Like, yeah, yeah, it does make you wonder.
it's a bit of an odd one, but yeah, I love the action scenes, like the carnival fight with the elementals, Night Monkey and Ned and Betty stuck in the Ferris wheel. Just the effects and how it looked and like the different
Mm.
elements. Obviously, you've got like earth and water and fire. I think of three in there.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, just how that looked and the effects with Mysterio, just like that green beam. It's a small thing, just like shooting green lasers, but it
But
looked
it
really
really
cool.
looks good. Yeah.
Just the colors, yeah. I loved like that scene in the pub as well, like after Peter leaves and he has given Enid over, and Beck is just like, "Well done, team. Thanks to you, thanks to you, thanks to you," and he's just
Mhm.
introducing the team. It's very exposition-y, kind of. It's like villain explains the plan or like the plan they had, but it works because it's in such like charming, done in such a charming way. That it's just like a business meeting or some kind of office staff party or something.
Yeah.
They're calling out everyone. I really enjoyed that. And then yeah, like you said, that mid-credit scene, which fucking explodes. And just seeing J.K. Simmons as well, as J.
Yeah.
Jonah Jameson, and that reveal, and then that other reveal, is just when I first saw it, I was like, bring on the third one, bring it on now.
Yeah, and I think that's the
Really
thing because,
enjoyed
like, once again, they trick you into believing that Peter is gonna have the pleasure of having the fairy tale ending, right?
it.
The idea of he saved the world, he did his duty, he's got his girl, and but once again, Peter can never catch a break like this, and that's why I loved that line that Beck says where he says, people are gonna see what we want them to
Mm,
see, which I think was a very good line because then by the time you then reach that mid-credit scene, he played his trump card, like he completely swerved him, completely tricked him, and it works so well.
mm,
Um, and yeah, I love how Homecoming just seems to flow very nicely into Far From Home, and then obviously with the ending from Far From Home flows very well into No Way Home. Also, as well, side note, I love the idea of Spider-Man on tour. I'm a sucker for different locations. Your Prague, Venice. I don't know if they still went to Paris. I don't even know if they did in the end, but
I don't think
London.
no.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for taking a little trip,
Traveling.
and so that was fun. That was fun. But any final thoughts to add before we give it our review scores?
Um, yeah, the only thing I didn't like were the teachers. I think there was a little too much of
Ah,
that. And they were a bit distracting. And like it felt like they were taking over too much of the story with their like comedy shtick. And I love JB Smoove definitely from like Curb Your Enthusiasm. I know him from that. And he's awesome in that. But yeah, it's like not enough space for them, I think. Yeah, that's
damn.
my
I mean,
overall
I'm
opinion.
the opposite. I actually love the teachers, but man, whatever you do, boy, beware of the witches. That's right. Now, beware of the witches.
Exactly, stuff like that. It was like a little tight five from JB Smoove about the witches. I'm like, get back to Spider-Man.
Oh man,
It's
I
just
get it. I get it.
not the
But
right platform. Yeah.
Spider-Man Far From Home, obviously, we have a new IC review score system on here that we've been using for the last couple of videos. So, instead of giving it a 5 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10, we give it 8 ICs out of 10 or 5 ICs out of 10. Plushies, ICs, plush puppies, Tango Ice Spark, whatever you refer to it as, but we just could call them ICs on here. So, Spider-Man Far From Home, what will you give this out of 10? How many ICs out of 10 will you give Far From Home?
I would give it an eight. I would give it an eight. Because it is wonderful. It's not as great as the first one. And yeah, those teachers. Um, but yeah, I'll, I'll, I'll give it an eight because it's still really good.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're going to be twinning today because I'm going to also give it 8 ICs out of 10. Similar to you, I think the movie is a ton of fun. It is awesome. It's a great time. Some small things that you can point out. It's not as great as Homecoming. However, that is a high bar to set. And it's still an awesome movie. Still an awesome movie. Just missing that magic. But that magic, I'm sure, will make an appearance again in the follow-up for No Way Home that we will review next week. However, thank you very much, guys, for checking out our review of Spider-Man Far From Home. Once again, we are No Drama, Just Movies. If you like this video, once again, if you haven't already, please give this channel a subscribe. Please like this video, comment, engage. My name is Cameron, the Edith Kelly Smith, and I was joined today by
Philip Night Monkey Cohen.
Oh man, that's right. We love a good night, monkey. However, thank you very much, guys, for checking out our content. We are No Drama, Just Movies, and we will see you very, very soon. Take care, guys.
Bye.